Right. Well. Welcome, dear ones. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for June the 14th, 2016. We have spoken in the past few weeks about the dynamic of how you choose your life lesson. We have spoken about how the dynamics of reality works through the mechanisms of your chakras, through the dynamics of how you create your reality, through your beliefs and your judgments. And today we wish to speak to you about the dynamic of the journey that you take when you are not completely conscious. For you do not really come into the body with a level of consciousness that you leave the body with. And if you look at the dynamic of your journey, we would say to you that that is the dynamic of the movement of growth, is to expand one's consciousness within the linear limitations of the dynamics of duality, of the dynamics of a physical incarnation. And so we would suggest to you that that is the basic underlying purpose of every incarnation. But we would also say to you that the dynamic of movement that takes place while you are not completely conscious of that movement, which is for most of you, many of you are just discovering that this has been a destined dynamic for both you and your species in whatever you are experiencing now. If you are beginning to understand that dynamic, you are beginning to awaken to the truth of who you really are, and of the power and the empowerment that is available to you. And so understand that as you move forward in the dynamic of a lifetime, that the expansion of consciousness is its basic primary purpose. So you come into the dynamic of the body as a babe, though, as someone who has had no experiences that are carried over to, in many ways, as a blank slate, as a computer that is completely unprogrammed. And as you come into the body, you are, in fact, programmed. You are programmed through the dynamics of your mother. What your mother believes is what you begin to believe. What your mother, through the dynamics of the influence of who she is at the moment of the conception and throughout the dynamic of the gestation to the birth, is a dynamic that is programmed within oneself. A dynamic of your beliefs and your judgments are formed by your mother's beliefs and judgments about who your mother believes herself to be and her place in the world, about how she feels about women and what their place in the world is, and how she feels about men and what their place in the world is. And all of these dynamics begin to be programmed within you. And these are the things that are set in your subconscious. These are the dynamics of fears that your mother has, of strengths that your mother has, of beliefs and judgments that your mother has. Each of these dynamics are programmed into you during the dynamic of gestation and birth. Everything that your mother experiences while you are within her body, you experience. So in that level of understanding, know that the programming that you have is a programming that so many of you have sought to overcome for your whole lifetimes, because you're going to give yourself, again, remember, incarnation is a conscious dynamic. You're going to give yourself a mother, you're going to give yourself a father that's going to program within you the dynamics that you wish to deal with within a dynamic of a life. lifetime. And again, if you remember, if we go back to the dynamic of what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, you will realize that it is up to your soul to give you those opportunities to face those things, those opportunities for growth that each of you have chosen to have. Now, as you begin to gain more awareness and as you begin to gain more consciousness, so many of you begin to wish to change dynamics that you, of belief, dynamics of judgment that you hold within yourself, because those dynamics of belief, those dynamics of judgment keep leading to negative outcomes in your personal lives. And so you find motivations in many different ways in order to wish to begin to change that dynamic. The thing is that when you change, again, let us look at the subconscious without judgment. Let us look at the subconscious as a safety mechanism. Your subconscious, just for an example, if we use love as an example, if you wish to learn about love in a lifetime, you're not going to give yourself a mother that has had a completely loving experience. You're going to give yourself a mother that is going to, what shall we say, replicate the emotional dynamic that you wish to suffer within the dynamics of love in order to overcome emotionally, in order to move forward and expand your levels of definition, your levels of consciousness around the dynamic of love. So many of you that are searching for love, the old song holds true. You're searching for love in all the wrong places, because these are the dynamics that keep leading to the reinforcement of negativity. Now, when you finally choose that one person that is outside, and we're using love again as an example, if you choose the dynamic of that one person that is outside of the realm of reality, and we there are a number of examples that we can use of instances in the past where a person has allowed love in their life, and something happens within them. It brings up a dynamic with them that has them questioning the other, questioning themselves, questioning the very relationship. And these are called dynamics of "Are you sure?" Because as you change the dynamics of a relationship, as you change the dynamics of love, as you change the dynamics of almost anything that is meaningful within the dynamic of your soul's journey, you have to understand that your subconscious has been programmed with a different definition, with a different understanding. Your subconscious has been programmed to keep you away from love, to keep you reinforcing the negativity, because it is safer to have a dynamic that love is taken away early on than for you to lead yourself into a dynamic of really loving and really being loved, and then in that dynamic of supposed vulnerability to have that rug pulled out from under you. And you crash and burn, and so many of you have repeated that dynamic within your lives for so many times over and over again. And some of you get to even the age of 60s and 70s, and you keep repeating the dynamic again. You keep choosing the wrong men. You keep choosing the wrong women. You keep choosing the wrong partners that keep reinforcing your belief that it's not safe to love. And even when you pick the person that begins to prove to you that it in fact is safe to love, you will prove to yourself that it's not. Unless you begin to understand that each time you take a step forward, your subconscious says, "Are you sure that you wish to take this step forward?" And if you can understand the simple analogy that you are taking an old program that you are wishing to reprogram, that your subconscious has to ask you if you are sure. Especially since so many of you have given so many ambiguous messages. on the journey to making the choice. This dynamic holds true on the level of the consensus reality as well as on the dynamic of the personal reality, as reflected most recently on early Sunday morning this past week when your reality asked you if you were sure. Orlando was a classic "Are you sure?" in the movement forward of earthly humanity. The lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBT community has been moving forward with great steps forward. So many of you within the dynamic of this community have been carried forward by the freedom, by the successes that you have had. In the dynamic of your spiritual naivete, you have forgotten the dynamic of "Are you sure?" Will so many of you retreat now through the dynamic of fear? Will you react in shame and pain and blame? Or will you say, yes, I am sure. I am strong enough. I'm willing to speak my truth. I'm willing to stand upon what I believe. So, dear ones, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you are Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you have no religion at all, how will you answer the "Are you sure?" We love you all so very, very much. We are So Too, and this is So Tuesday for June the 14th, 2016. We love you all so very much, and so until the next time we close, sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy. How will you answer? How will you answer?